Good day, listeners. This is the Busted Knees and Pretty Trees podcast. Inside all of us is a backpacker waiting to be set forth into the wild. Here at Busted Knees, we want to help you set that backpacker in you free. We offer advice on what that will take, including gear and trail recommendations. We also share our stories of woe and triumph that keep us in search of the next adventure. On today's episode, we have a special treat. Our first guest has arrived at the Busted Knees Basement Base Camp. Brian is well-traveled, and he's been to some of the most beautiful places in the world. He works hard at living life, and he'll never pass up an opportunity to hit up the trail and get some reps in. That is, if you can schedule him 60 days in advance. We're delighted for him to take us down a new path and share what he's learned on his trails and travels. And as always, thank you for coming with us. Hello, everyone. This is the Busted Knees and Pretty Trees podcast, episode 9. Thank you for popping in for another listen. We appreciate you. I am your host, Travis J. White, and as you know, sitting with me, the synthetic defender, the big bully buster, Patty Richardson.
Hello, how are you? We are here.
Good to see you. We also have future certified Guinness World Record holder for fastest ever sleeping bag setup, Bradley Greer.
Yeah. Booyah, you know it.
Oh, you're going down,
Hello.
dude.
Now, guys, today is a special day. We have a special guest. Our studio has been transformed into a safety hazard to accommodate that guest. He's an Indiana Hoosier diehard, and by that, I mean he will take his disgust of West Lafayette into the afterlife. He's also a plantain impersonator, a strict but fair party host, and he's a great friend of mine and Brad's, Brian Gaines.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm happy to be here and honored to be the first guest. And
hell yeah.
Hope it goes well, so I'm not the last guest.
Yeah,
You're setting the bar.
Dude, you're going to be awesome. This is awesome. I'm super psyched to have
Let's
you.
do
I've
it.
been psyched all day to have you down here and sharing this little space of ours.
I appreciate it,
yeah.
yeah.
I've been
Like, so I'm
thinking
happy to
about
be
it.
here. Yeah.
Been thinking about it all day.
Yeah, for real. Me
So,
too.
yeah, man, thanks for coming. As you know, this is a podcast about getting into backpacking for middle-aged, folks, kind of getting there. And we try to make it easy. We keep it to the basics in terms of gear and all that stuff. And so people might be wondering why we brought you along. So why don't you give us a little, tidbit about yourself and maybe how you got into getting out in the outdoors.
Yeah.
Well, I think the short version of that is, so I'm a statistician and software developer by day, and as much as I love my job, I spend an unhealthy amount in front of a laptop.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think I'm a big proponent of both exercising and spending time in nature is something that's just really important for physical and mental health.
Hell yeah.
And hiking to me is that combined. Is I'm out, you're outdoors, you're spending time in nature, and you're getting some physical activity in. So it's to me it's just definitely a win-win. And I think over time, it's just become a passion of mine, and just more and more. So
Yeah, it's like addicting, right?
right, yeah, exactly.
Once
Yeah,
you
it's
see
like,
some awesome
it's
shit.
like this snowball effect, and once you do some cool shit, then it's like, all right, what's next? So
What else is out there?
right, yeah.
I never thought this could exist here, and it's all over the place, apparently.
And there's how much more shit like this is there out there?
Yeah, I absolutely respect that. If you know that you're spending so much time in front of a computer or just inside and just have that knowledge of being like, I got to get out. I got to get outside. I got to enjoy what's out there.
Yep. And that's
Good for you.
That's what we're trying to do here is get more people out to feel that, to, understand that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in this world that spend a lot of time indoors. And if you could, throughout this episode, kind of speak to those people and speak to who you are to those people, then I think that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, snap.
Sounds like
News
the
Panthers
News
here.
Panthers here.
Anybody want to explain to Brian what that sound is?
Well, apparently, whenever it's time to do the news, the News Panther, what do you call that? A growl?
Yeah.
Roar.
Yeah.
A roar.
Not a mating call.
Yeah. So when the News Panther strikes, we get straight to the news.
Like we're on his schedule.
Yep,
We're not on anybody
that's right.
else's.
So what do we got, Brad?
Yeah, lay it on us, Brad. I'm excited as always for the news.
A trail renovation in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park will give cataractophiles an opportunity to rejoice.
What'd you say?
What? Yeah, what?
What a cataractophile.
Yeah.
That is someone who is passionate about waterfalls.
Cataractophile?
Yeah. It's like an intense urge to find waterfalls.
Intense urge.
Yeah. What? I'd be curious as to how much of an urge is an intense urge.
That's
You actually be
intense.
like clinically diagnosed as
Yeah.
cataractophile.
I
like waterfalls. I
Does it
don't know why I
involve
would
muscle
say
spasms?
It's an interesting term. I don't know.
You would think that if it was massive, you would like see more cataractophiles. You know, I've never seen one that just can't leave the waterfall.
I
you know?
believe cataract is a different term for waterfall
Really?
because it says waterfalls or cataracts and the definition of cataractophobe.
Interesting.
Well, as always, we should start by defining the term. Cataractophile. I'm just going
Yeah.
to stick with that.
How can you not enjoy a waterfall? Like if you hear rushing water, like you kind of want to go see what's going on over there.
Maybe if you're having a really good conversation and there's a waterfall,
Yeah.
that's the only time you don't want to be there.
So this trail is called the Ramsey Cascade Trail. It's 8 miles round trip, 2,000 feet straight up.
Ooh.
And it is the tallest waterfall in the national park.
That's not that bad of a hike. Like I understand you're emphasizing the straight up.
It's a
but
beautiful day hike.
Yeah, I would say so.
And it's through like old growth hardwood forest.
Yeah.
And then when you're ascending, you're obviously going to see some cool terrain.
Where is this at?
I would guess Tennessee. Yeah.
Ooh.
Because I did like map the trail on Gaia just to kind of get a profile of what the elevation actually was. And there was like a Pigeon Forge Road that I saw when I was in the area. So
All right.
could be
Is
around
that one of
there
those
somewhere.
places where someone won a battle?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is the Battle of Pigeon Forge from Gettysburg.
There it is.
Yeah, but isn't that also like just north of Gatlinburg is
Yeah,
Pigeon Forge?
it's another little town that
Yeah.
is like kind of much more touristy than Gatlinburg.
Out of curiosity, was that just drive-by history?
Oh,
Yeah, probably. Definitely.
We
drive-by
classify that
history.
as our tried and true drive-by series.
we may get hit by the Instagram detective.
Yeah,
for
hey,
drive-by
bring it
signs.
on. Travis's history is never flawed ever.
I do all my war history on YouTube pretty much. So,
Travispedia.
and I watch
is-
so
is-
much of it, it all starts to blend together. So I hear a name of a battlefield, and I'm just like, there's some history there. I'm not sure which war or what happened, but some men died there, I'm sure.
Brian, you did say like it must have been south because it wasn't washed out by the hurricane, which
Yeah.
we covered 3 episodes
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
So a big section of this trail was destroyed in 2021 from heavy rains and then just like the washout. It washed big sections of the trail out. So this has been a 3-year restoration project. It's been a pretty big restoration.
Yeah.
To thank for that, we have the Friends of the Smokies.
Thank you.
Yeah, they made it possible. They have an endowment. When I went to their website, it looked like they had 4 or 5 like main endowments where they raised money and spent money for going towards Great Smoky National Park. Also, a big shout out to the youth crews from American Conservation Experience and Southeast Conservation Corps, who, along with the 110 volunteers, I think all including it was 110 volunteers, who contributed over 1,800 hours to assist in the trail restoration.
Shout out.
So
Round of
that's
applause.
awesome.
Round of
Yeah.
applause.
Golf clap.
Yeah,
Golf
good.
There we
clap.
go. Congratulations. Thank you.
So we have, if you look up pictures of the story, you may come across pictures, but the trail, it looked like it had the common thing that you see is basically the root structures from the trees or the stairs.
Yeah.
And they're like ankle busters, knee busters.
Oh, yeah, you
like,
got to pay attention.
Just a rough trail.
so they have before and afters of those, and
Yeah.
they kind of made a nice gradient step out of natural logs. One of the things they said in this article was it's all natural materials.
It's luxurious.
Like they wanted to keep it as original as it was before the washout and like natural as much as they could.
Yeah.
And it sounds like everything they put out there
you
was.
see the like log steps, and then it kind of has some space in between the steps, and there's just like gravel, kind of a gravel area.
Yeah.
It looks
for a big
awesome.
step, and it,
One step at a time, you're going up.
Yeah.
That looks awesome.
really awesome.
Yeah, they had all like on this website all the stats that laid out of how many pounds of rocks, how many pounds of wood they either carried up by mule, which Travis is a fan of.
Preferred mode of transportation on
donkey
trail.
guy now.
Yeah, Travi is a donkey guy.
I'm thinking about it.
So like they used mules, helicopters, and then people just carried that stuff up. So all told, the trail now features a pair of new foot log bridges, new decking and handrails. So I'm guessing you're crossing a lot of creeks and rivers and stuff because all those bridges got washed out.
Right.
So yeah, new decking and handrails, 151 trail drains. So I'm assuming that's just water runoff to keep it from washing the actual trail out.
That's right.
Because they said there were big sections that they had to totally reroute just because it got washed out so bad.
Well, have you seen where they kind of had a little gutter like right next to the trail to kind of make sure that water just goes kind of out of the way?
And for a second, you always think, is that natural?
Yeah.
Dude, I've actually, up until just now, I would have thought that was natural. I thought that was like a little stream or a little mountain runoff that they built a trail next to.
Yeah,
I didn't think of the practical purposes of having something like that.
Yeah, the fact that they put 151 of them in an 8 mile or 4 mile stretch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's... Whew.
Yeah, that trail will be there for a
Seems
while.
like a lot, yeah. And that was like a lot of the quotes. That's what they say. Like they want this trail to be sustainable and gonna last, and nobody has to fix anything for a while.
Yeah.
And even in the middle of it, I think 22 or 23, there was a big storm that washed out another section of it. So while they were trying to build it,
I love the grassroots thing.
Yeah, and that's what's like great about reading all of this is you're just hearing more and more. It's
just people.
Yeah, because we also had the Appalachian Trail Conservancy.
Yeah,
and the Appalachian Trail runs through the Great Smokies.
Yeah,
so I'm sure they contribute funds and volunteers.
I think that is so awesome. That's
really
people
cool.
helping people, and I will applaud that all day long.
It's awesome. I chose this next news story in an effort to stoke the flames of our own in-house resident artist, Travis.
Here we go, dude. Let's get it.
No, more. This was just something that I didn't know about, and I thought sounded pretty cool.
I feel like Travis is not intrigued at all, but that piques my intrigue even more.
I'm intrigued. I just have an issue with every art contest that's ever seen by anybody. Always comes to me. They're like, "Hey, you should do this."
Yeah.
And I think it's funny. But,
if you don't know about it.
Well, I appreciate it.
So Rocky Mountain National Park and Rocky Mountain Conservancy announced that the park's in-residence program will be accepting applications for the summer of 2025. They'll start accepting applications December 1st.
It's only a few short days away, dude.
What's cool is
I want to hear more.
The artist in residence program is open to artists of all creative disciplines and genres.
Oh, dude.
So there's like musicians, sculptors, poets.
There's no way.
Like anything, any art form. They review it and
there is a way, Travi J.
Yeah.
There is a way.
So here's the lowdown of what it involves.
Tell Travis.
You'll serve a 2-week residency within Rocky Mountain National Park.
I'm listening.
And during the residency, selected artists will reside in a rustic cabin located inside Rocky Mountain National Park.
I'm listening harder.
Yeah, me too.
Where the artist can gain inspiration and create artistic works. Participating artists will also, this is where you might lose interest.
Go on.
Participating artists will also host and facilitate at least 2 free public programs for audiences of all ages. I don't know.
Do you have to like teach a class?
I feel like you would like
painting.
I feel like you would like teaching kids.
Yeah.
I'd love to teach
You would
painting.
be great at that.
I have a young artist under my wing as we speak.
As we speak, he's upstairs.
Exactly. The applications are reviewed by a panel of judges. The panel will select at least 5 artists to participate in 2025. And then these artists are notified, and then they kind of give a 2-week blocks, like these will work for me. And then they just kind of work everybody in. So it sounded like they said at least 5. So maybe there's more than 5.
Dang. We started off negative there, Travis, and I've been watching your face the entire time, and I'm kind of thinking you're feeling a little more vibey on it.
Well, here,
A little, but
let me read.
Oh, there's more?
This is straight from the National Parks website.
Oh, that's a reputable source.
And this, like the way they wrote this, whether staying in a remote cabin at Denali National Park and Preserve in Alaska, contemplating history at Herbert Hoover National Historic Site in Iowa, or working in a contemporary studio overlooking a stone-lined field at Weir Farms National Historic Site in Connecticut, artists and residence programs provide artists with unique opportunities to create works of art in varied natural and cultural settings.
I want to read that in written form.
Man, yeah, because I didn't do a good job
You
reading
did
it.
wonderful. I just want that as like written form porn. That kind of turned me on.
Isn't
a
that
little bit.
great?
Yeah, that was
awesome.
wonderful.
I'm trying to think. Can I go bake bread? That's an art form.
That is an art form, dude. That is an art
Culinary
form.
arts, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wrote
Baked
a
bread
comic
that
book
looks
one
just
time.
like the Rocky Mountains.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
We are all, able to apply.
I want that remote wilderness cabin at Denali National
I
Park.
would say the cabin was really.
Oh man, if we
Man.
all get picked,
But even contemplating
There's
this,
5 people picked in the world, and us 3 get in. Wait, hold on. Doing a podcast
very
is also
humble,
an
yeah,
art
like-
form.
but even contemplating history at Hoover National Historic Site.
I would
in Iowa.
contemplate for as long as
Man.
they needed me to contemplate, for sure. Give it to me, dude.
I could write a poem.
is
or two.
contemplating required?
That's
Can you just sit there? Dude, don't we do a podcast, and doesn't that then isn't that also a creative art?
and like
Yeah,
our main jam is national parks.
Yeah, so I feel like we might be shooing get us there, dude.
Damn, dude. Yeah, we
on-site
could.
recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will
special.
record
We could
this
record
for us.
every day.
Live from
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain National
Yeah.
Park.
Get out, dude. We are shoo-ins.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're listening out there, Brad, Travis, and Patty would like to come out to your cabin and contemplate.
Yeah, I'd love to contemplate.
Contemplate all over,
Oh my gosh,
everywhere.
so
But
much.
yeah, I had no idea that existed, and it's been going on for I think Rocky Mountain National Park was the first year that they did it, and I think it was in '84.
Wow.
So it's been around for a while. It just must not be. I don't know. Like I never heard of it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's cool.
Sounds very exclusive.
It's
yeah, it does sound exclusive.
kind of like the artist every year gets selected to do the duck stamp.
Yeah.
Like that's a super competitive competition.
That's cool.
Yeah. But it's cool that the government recognizes, or at least that subsegment of the government recognizes that art is important. And
Oh, yeah.
it's great to get artists out there.
Have you ever seen the See America posters that
Oh, yeah.
that the national parks do? They hire lots and lots of artists. Each national park, I don't know how they decide how many, but some national parks have like over 10, and every print is done by a different artist, and they're really neat. That's what we collect when we go to national parks as a family.
Do you
So we
collect-
have them all over our house.
Do you collect a specific artist or just
No,
whichever
there isn't.
ones that look cool?
Yeah, I don't think there's any specific artists.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how they're hired.
I imagine I could definitely see it being this kind of thing. Submit a application, a panel judges
Yeah,
it.
I mean they are very good prints, and
Oh, yeah.
they
I've seen
range
them.
from psychedelic to more traditional.
Yeah, I love the
So,
old timey ones.
Yeah, so do I.
Those look cool.
But we love them, and they have them in all your gift shops at national
Yeah,
parks. They
yeah.
at least have like 1 or 2 or 3 options of the See Americas.
Yeah, cool stuff.
Oh, well,
Yep, News
there it
Panther.
is, y'all. News
Segment's
Panther's over.
All right, guys, we need to stop talking because we have a guest, and now it's time to let him talk.
Let's
for a
go,
little bit.
Brian, dude.
We are quite rude, Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry about
No,
that.
not at all.
So the question I have is, do you think, like we folks from Indiana that grew up in this flat land, northeast Indiana. I know we have some better stuff down there in the southern part of the state, but
Yeah, very pretty stuff.
But yeah, it's all flat farmland and, you know, little patches of woods and stuff. Do you think, I guess, seeing like hills and just any basically geological formation whatsoever just kind of blows your mind like it does mine?
I definitely think so. I mean, even when I went to Bloomington, and I remember when I went down to Bloomington to go to Indiana University, I remember meeting with the advisor there. And when she asked where I was from, she's like, "Oh, we actually have hills down here." You know, like, so, yeah, it's like a running joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it is. I think part of that, and that's why I think that for that Vegas hike for me, it was something where I was kind of like slowly building up to something like that to an extent with the hikes that I had been doing, but. Yeah. That was the one that I really blew my mind because it was totally different. Because not only was it, you know, hills and stuff, but you actually had this totally different terrain. I just kept being like, I feel like I'm on Mars. Like,
what the hell is this?
Yeah, like, I can't believe that this is in the United States.
Dude, I've been trying to talk with Brad and Travis about our next backpacking trip, and I've been pushing going to the desert or some form like that. We did, I know you're going to probably mention Zion, but to the east, more towards Zion of Vegas, there's Valley of Fire State Park there, and it's also like that same thing where it's just beautiful terrain, different terrain. Like when you think of that sand, it's so fine and beautiful. And then there's rocks to climb on and petroglyphs, or I think it's petroglyphs. But it is just being from here and then going to the Smokies, going to the parks that are around here, and then going out to that terrain is so impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, just tremendous. Whether or not it's their state parks or their national parks, it's so cool, dude.
You're hooking me, man. Yeah. You're hooking me.
I mean, the way you guys, there is some ways to do it where you're not just like in the quintessential desert where it's just like.
You should say we should do a Southwest backpacking trip.
Southwest
not
backpacking
a desert.
Trip. Fine, sure.
Like when I hear desert, I think of like flat as far as the eye can see, mirages in the distance,
like we're just
camels
dragging
walking across
ass, like
us.
just sun chapped and barely making it. Our clothes
like
are
Breaking
tattered.
Bad.
Hey, you can convince Brad to do anything if you use the proper wording.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true.
I'll look up the scientific terms to all of these things.
Well, not anything.
And then I will woo Brad in minutes.
Yeah.
All right. So you were speaking of Zion National Park. Brian, can you tell us of any of your national park experiences or your favorite ones that you've been to?
Well, so I haven't been to a ton of national parks because I think for me, I haven't necessarily gone on a lot of trips that were specifically targeted to a park or like a trip that was specifically for hiking. That a lot of times for me, I'm going somewhere either to visit friends and family or I'm going somewhere for work. And then it just so happens that one of the main things I look at doing while there is to go hiking. It's kind of an activity. But I will say I just 6 weeks ago went on a camping/hiking trip out west in the Southwest. And we went 3 nights in Zion, 3 in Grand Canyon, and 3 in Sedona.
Wow.
And yeah, Zion to me was just amazing. That was something that kind of, even though I had heard a lot of good things about it, it still kind of blew my mind in terms of just how beautiful it was. And, And so I would highly recommend Zion to anyone. Anyone who likes to hike, I think that should be a bucket list item.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Which state is Zion in?
Utah.
So Zion is in Utah. Yeah. So, and it's actually, it was probably only about 2 hours from Vegas.
Yep.
Because I flew into Vegas and we spent a night in Vegas.
Yep.
And then we drove up there. Because just to circle back on Vegas, because you mentioned Valley of Fire, which I've been there as well.
Yeah.
And for me, I always try to plug Vegas hikes as much as possible because you have, like I said, you have Red Rocks, you have Valley of Fire, you have Mount Charleston to the northwest, which is more maybe, like an East Coast type area, but still hikes. You have the Hoover Dam area by like Colorado River and stuff, and so for me, when people think of Vegas, they think of Sin City and The Hangover and everything and all that, which is fine, but I just feel like there are just so many awesome hikes. So I always tell people that you do what you want to do. You want to gamble, all that, but there are just like when I think of going to Vegas, the first thing I think of, I get excited about the hiking in that area. And so I feel like people don't necessarily know about it because they don't associate that with Las Vegas.
Yeah, I don't think that's the first thing they think, is outdoor activities.
Yeah, right, I totally agree too.
Which makes sense, but
it does. And also if you went a little bit further than some of those state parks, like to the Zion area, you have like the Big Five, or I don't know exactly how they,
right?
But it's Zion, it's Bryce Canyon, Canyon Lands, I think, and Coral Reef National Park, and Arches National Park.
Yeah.
So I don't think. Yeah, that's right. I don't think maybe Canyon Land. I can't remember exactly, but they're all absolutely gorgeous.
Right.
Like every photo you see is tremendous. The features there are tremendous.
Oh, yeah.
So. Yeah, and it's a cheap flight to Vegas. Like from anywhere in the country, it is cheap to fly into Vegas.
Like that's what I was just telling you today. We're thinking about doing the Ray Lakes Loop and Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park, and just looking at it on the map, it's like there's Vegas, San Fran, LA, and Vegas kind of might be the closest, but I don't know what kind of path across the mountains you have to take, so maybe
Is
not.
that in California?
Yeah. It's like kind of closer to Fresno, Bakersfield.
Yep.
Kind of in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Vegas would be probably that's a hell of a hike from LA and definitely a hike from Northern California.
Yeah.
So Vegas is always, people from California go to Vegas all the time, dude. Reno, Vegas.
Yeah.
I think Brian just gave a nice little tidbit about some good hikes in Vegas.
Yeah.
And another good tidbit, like don't focus on national parks.
Yeah.
Because there's good state parks.
Yeah, nice.
Good county parks.
Travi talked
all
about
out there.
that a few episodes ago as one of his parting wishes is that people can pay a little bit more attention to your state and local parks.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian,
No, my pleasure.
for shedding light on your state and local parks in another state and in another park.
So, Brian, would you consider yourself a day hiker in that manner more than a backpacker?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, because for me, I'm definitely a day hiker.
Yeah.
Because like I said, for me, it's been usually I'm going on a trip for some other reason, but anytime I go anywhere, one of the first things I do is I get out all trails, which I'll talk about later probably, and I look up, okay, like what are the top hikes in this state? Am I going to be close to those, or what are the top hikes in this region to try to see, can I, fit those in?
It's definitely a good, that's the one thing All Trails is definitely good for.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite use cases is, and you don't even need to pay the subscription for that. That's just something you can do where you can just go and look at, okay, what are the cool hikes based on, the ratings and feedback from other people.
Yeah.
And so like when I was just out in Oregon about 2 months ago for work, but I ended up going out there 2 days early just for hiking for that initial
sweet,
part.
man.
Yeah. So that's kind of for me, it's like I didn't go out there to hike, but if I'm going there, one of the first things I think of trying to do is to hike. And then a lot of times I will try to add extra time to squeeze in, as much of that as possible.
Right, yeah. That's awesome that you always try and find that opportunity.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So in terms of like work vacation, like you're going to go out there for work. Most people that I know that travel for work just despise every moment of their work travels, the meetings, the being up early, the being in front of people, staying in hotels, maybe uncomfortable places. So does you going out to take a hike or to find that beautiful place at that place that you're at, does that like uplift you? Does that change your prerogative of your, quote unquote work thing?
I definitely think so, because for me, it's almost like I'm charging my battery in advance.
Yeah.
Because the conferences themselves for me I do enjoy them, but they're very draining because, like you said, it's like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Right.
And so it's very exhausting. And even though it's great, especially as a software developer, one of the best things for me is to talk to users of the software and to see them excited about using our software. And so then when I'm spending those long hours in front of a laptop, it kind of energizes me to think that, okay, well, these other people are finding it useful and it's helping them in some way. But even then, it's a very long, exhausting thing. And so exactly what you said, Patrick, that for me, it's almost, like I'm charging my battery and knowing that I'm going to be drained from this conference, that if I can go, spend as much time in nature and unplugged and clearing my head, so then I'm kind of like mentally prepared to deal with what I'm going to encounter in that conference.
I asked that because I find that just not on work trips, but just in regular, just going to work every day, that one of the things that I use, if not the thing that I use to kind of unwind, unplug, is camping, hiking, backpacking. Like where I talk with a lot of people that don't really do what I do in this regard. That find it to be tiring, that the planning or the walking 50 miles or whatever it is and carrying a pack on your back, they're just like, oh God, that'd be exhausting. But it's quite the opposite for me. Like I feel like showing up every day to work at 7:50, working, handling problems, coming home, being a father and a husband, and I think I excel at both.
I agree.
Thank you. That's tiring. So quite the opposite, like carrying that 30-pound pack on my shoulders and walking for 50 miles, but seeing the things that you're seeing, experiencing what you're experiencing is extremely rejuvenating.
Right, yeah.
You
It's
know?
crazy. It is energizing. Like I feel like sometimes while on the trail, I don't know, it's like you just feel that energy or that vibe from the trail, from the mountain that's in the distance or the waterfall that you're hearing. And so it is kind of crazy that
what's over the next peak.
There's an adventure to it.
I'm trying to get to this point.
I don't remember the quote necessarily, but there is some kind of backcountry quote that says, regards something like, if you want to, know where you're at in life, like go to the backcountry, go to the forest, go to the woods, because that you'll just learn everything about how good your life is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you go out there, you suffer, you walk, it hurts, it's a pain in the butt.
Yep.
You see gorgeous things, of course, but then you come home and you're just rejuvenated. Like, oh, I'm so happy to be in this air conditioning plant.
You're ready to
working
tackle
my
life
tail
again,
off.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Good. I'm glad that you find that time to go out there. That's awesome.
And to go through that stuff, you have to bring some stuff with you. And we haven't talked much about day hiking in terms of gear.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought we could ask Brian what you bring with you on a day hike.
Well, I think, for me, the main things are, hydration's very important, obviously. So I use a lot of different electrolyte packets. So whether that's like Ultima Replenisher, there's Liquid IV.
Tried Noon yet?
Noon.
What do you think of Noon?
Noon's an old school, for sure. I've been rocking Noon forever.
All right.
Yeah. There's Noon.
Shit, boy.
Yeah.
Drinking Noons forever.
Oh, yeah.
We just
OG.
rocked it our first time, dude.
There's like Element. There's Trace Minerals has their own version of Element. So that's a huge thing for me, is definitely packing a lot of hydration, because especially for me, I know that typically I like to hike early in the morning, usually as early as possible. Like ideally I'm starting my hike around sunrise, and then I'm going to be probably drinking in the afternoon/evening. So I'm also thinking ahead of, well, I'm sweating now and I'm going to drink later. So I want to preemptively strike with my, my hydration and electrolytes to go intense.
Absolutely.
And so there's that. And I know I usually will bring some, some sort of meat stick, some snack. I know one thing I pack a lot, even thinking back to work conferences, is I usually bring baby food. Where it's like pureed vegetables. And so I think for this, you have to be careful about when you buy it. I usually try to buy the stuff that has low sugar content, because a lot of that stuff can have a lot of sugar in it.
Man, that's crazy.
But the fact
for
that
babies,
food needs a low sugar.
Right.
like that, even
has a
you're
low
like,
sugar?
whoa. That's
Exactly.
A lot of
Yeah,
sugar.
so many of those have a ton of sugar in them.
Wow.
And so
Train
I
'em early,
will
huh?
find some sort of puree that's more of like, I don't know, butternut squash and sweet potatoes and that sort of stuff. And then that's what, and even my
That's such a good idea.
Well, and even my coworkers would make fun of me because I'll bring baby food. I'm like, well, you're the ones who make me work nonstop and don't give me a break. So I have to hide behind here and like take a shot of baby food just to have some sort of food because sometimes we don't even get lunch breaks.
Get some calories.
Yeah. So the baby food has become one of my go-to things because it's a very, it's easy to pack. It's small. It's nutrient dense. And will get your vegetables or fruit that you need for the day.
I have never heard this before, and right now I'm fascinated.
Yeah. So that, like I said, you have to be selective. I feel like when you pick it out because you can pick up baby food that has like 30 grams of sugar in it.
Yeah.
Which to me is a lot. That's like a daily intake of sugar.
Are they still in those little jars or cans?
No, this is like more of a pouch, like a squeezy pouch, almost like a Capri Sun type thing where you're squeezing out. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Where you rip off the top easy. And then you just start squeezing and it shoots out and you swallow it. So,
nice.
Damn.
Nice and easy.
Yep. So that's something that I found to be very useful on hiking as a way to, because to me, the other classic go-to thing is a meat stick, but it's nice to get some other nutrients some other way. And I feel like baby food is one way to do that.
And I do not like beef sticks on trail. I feel like they're just not what I ever have craved or wanted while taking a snack break.
Yeah.
Never.
I totally
would
agree.
Have much rather like a nice vegetable or fruit, like pureed.
Right.
Or
Exactly. So it's pureed. So it's easy as hell too. Like when you don't want to put effort into it, you just have to. It's already pureed, easy to take down.
I would. I that's a great idea.
As a backpacker, though, that's pretty heavy.
Yeah, that is.
Unless you're eating it the first day or two.
That's true, but I mean, when you're using it as a snack, it's probably no heavier than having a bag of trail mix.
True. Or like packet of Justin's almond butter.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying, I feel like you can get some of those that are very nutrient dense. Too, where you'd have
that's
like
the point that I like so much.
It's like the payoff. Of
we
having
have to weigh some things, aren't we?
Yep.
Get the what is calorie versus weight ratio?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Come up with a
plus
system.
Sugar, factor in the sugar too.
Oh, yeah.
What if we dehydrate that baby food and then just add water later?
It seems to me like your favorite gear or the gear that you're most impressed by is how you maintain your nutrients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You feel like that's the most important aspect.
I feel like for me, it's because it's usually like water, coffee, the hydration packets, the baby food, the snacks, that sort of stuff that's my go-to stuff that I'm most concerned about because I also know that, again, if I'm day hiking, I'm not going to be out there forever necessarily.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So hopefully,
yeah. Bob Shock, dude.
Yeah. So even if I don't have all of that, I'm probably going to be fine, but just to be safe, because for me, it's always, when I go on a hike or visit someplace, I view it as this is my one chance to be here. And so I don't want me being hangry 4 miles in to alter my experience. So I want to have that stuff just in case so I can sustain and keep going and kind of enjoy it as best as I can.
What kind of shoes do you use?
So I have hiking boots. That I should have looked up the.
No, you're fine. I was just wondering if you're.
Well, just because I at one point had gotten, I don't know, they're almost like hybrid, like hiking boots / shoes. Because I at one point got ones that are more comfortable,
like trail runners.
Yeah, because especially I'm someone who, when I hike, a lot of times it is my workout, and so I try to kind of power up.
Yeah.
Going up, and then a lot of times when I come down, I'll mix in jogging on the way down.
Yeah.
And so having some sort of shoe that's very comfortable for that.
Yeah.
That, like, at the end of the day, it's still a very like water resistant.
Yeah.
I feel like legit enough hiking boot to where I can take it on more legit hikes, but it's still kind of like in the hybrid area to where it's also comfortable enough that I can at least run in it for a day or two.
Yeah.
Now I can definitely tell that after using those for say 3 days in a row, I'll start to notice, especially if I'm running them a lot, certain parts are getting tight and stuff.
Right,
but I also know that that's kind of like a short-term thing that you just kind of like suck up and deal with, and it'll be fine.
There's very few boots or shoes or anything that are going to keep your feet just perfectly
exactly. So it's just like this is the price I got to pay. So.
No, I always question whether or not I wanted to get trail runners or like a hiking shoe as opposed to the high top boot. That's it's just like a fucking Hummer on your feet, you know? Where some days it's just when you're shopping those REI sales, looking at those shoes, you're like, damn, dude, those things look like Nike running shoes on trail. Like, man, I scoot on down that trail. So I've just always been curious as to.
But it's also funny because me and you, Patty, have been in the backcountry, like in the middle of the backcountry, going up a steep, like switchbacks or something, and here come two dudes jogging past us with like little day packs on, and we're just like, what the hell? Where'd they come from?
It's so fucking impressive when those dudes, when you know how much
we're
effort
like 20 miles in or something.
And these guys are just cruising. That's a big deal, man. Those trail runners, you trail runners are insane.
Yeah, I was wondering earlier, is that trail, does it have as many roots sticking out of the ground? Is it pretty smooth, or how does that?
No, and so I have actually, I think I still have battle wounds from, they're not so bad. When I was just I was in Arizona at the time when I was in the Grand Canyon area.
So it's still pretty rugged.
Because I actually have the problem, and even, so going back to what I mentioned when I lived in Richmond, Virginia, and that's when I got into trail running, that one of the things, and I still, even if it's like 80 degrees, if I go trail running, I usually wear gloves, knowing that there's a non-trivial chance I'm going to trip and fall. And so that's crazy. Because for me, the biggest problem, especially when I first started trail running, is that it's so beautiful that I just want to look around. And I'm just running and like, oh, look at this cool lake, or look at this mountain. Or even like when I was in Arizona and fell, it was because I got to like a fork in the road and I went one way and I started looking like, oh, should I have gone that way? Because I didn't know where this is, my first time at this place.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, should I have gone that way? And the next thing, bam, I just fall. And
you go a lot further when you're lost, when you're running.
Right, yeah. And so, and I was on like a tight schedule of like, we had to check out that day by say 10 or whatever. And so it was kind of like, well, I'm going to try to squeeze in this run, but I can't be too long. So that's when I'm like, well, shit, I don't want to take the 8-mile route when I only have time for 5 or whatever. And so, yeah, unfortunately, that was a day. So I've gotten better about not tripping on trail runs, but that was a day that I think I bit it, 2 or 3 times. And the third time I was just like, I probably dropped 3 F-bombs before I hit the ground. Cause I was like, you gotta be kidding. Like, at that point, I'm just like pissed. What
kind of amateur shit is
yeah.
this?
Like, I'm like, there are a bunch of fishermen there at this pond or this lake, like they're like,
you were being watched.
Yeah. So, and I was just like, at that point, I'm just like mad at myself. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, yeah, this is amateur hour. Like, I'm better than this. Like, they're totally judging me.
I have to imagine though, like, I mean, I don't run much anymore, but when I do run, my legs get tired, even when I'm feeling good. And that's on flat, beautiful asphalt. So the idea that your legs might just get like a little bit wormy, a little bit loose.
Exactly.
And you're also climbing over tree ruts or rocks in the trail or whatever it might be. Like,
and trying to look around, like look at the view and the trees.
That sounds like hell, dude.
Yeah. You see a squirrel or something.
Begging for a rolled ankle.
Right. I do have to say though, generally we've talked about it on the podcast a couple times where the trail running just isn't necessarily for us because we really do want to like take our time, enjoy the scenery, be able to turn around and stop for a little bit and chat and have lunch or whatever. But so we've generally like kind of shit on the idea of trail running. But the way you're making it sound in terms of I'm going to go out there and exercise. So hypothetically, you could just be like, I'm going to use the hotel gym and run on this treadmill with Fox News playing in front of me or some shit. And you're choosing to just put on a pair of shorts and some shoes and leave the hotel and go find your local park or whatever and exercise there. Do that same run, but with a view. And I feel like that kind of is like that changes my like I feel bad for shitting on your type, you people. I feel bad for shitting on you people.
And even when I talk about the hiking aspect, one of the things I try to even tell myself is try to maybe take my time going up and really enjoy it, especially if I'm doing like an out and back hike, because I'm doing more day hiking. That okay, on the way up, I'm gonna, even though I like to try to power through a little for the workout aspect, that I'm gonna try to enjoy it and look around and everything and stop and take pictures. Anyone who's hiked with me knows that I like to take a ton of pictures.
Good.
When I'm hiking, but then it's on the way down, so I really try to appreciate and take it in on the way up.
Yeah.
So then when I go on the way down, I'm start bombing it. And even what Travis J just said, that I sometimes when I run down, it is more like interval training of like, okay, this is a flat section, especially after I fell in Arizona. I was very like skittish of like, all right, I want a very nice, like, well-groomed flat section, and I'll sprint here and then I'll walk a little and then I'll sprint, so we're, I kind of like mix it in that regard.
I just pictured like me 4 days into a backpacking trip trying to like trudge up this trail and seeing Brian. It's 90 degrees out. He has winter gloves on his hands.
Headband on.
He gives you like a salute on his way by. He's like, "Hi there. Fine day today, sir."
And then he falls.
And then you're like, "Nerd." And then he gets up and overtakes you again.
Then I roll my ankle.
But he probably cast a nice breeze for you on his way by.
Brad drafts him for a quarter mile. Stays.
Holy. All right. So I think I wanted to pass some questions on to you guys. Brad, if you have a question for Brian about his backpacking skills.
Yeah. When you were living on the East Coast, what was kind of one hike that you did, day hike, traveled, vacation, whatever, that made you want to look more into it?
Well, that's a good question, because I know there, definitely had gone on a few different really cool hikes out there, but one that sticks out to me is Catawba Falls, which is east of Asheville, maybe about 20 to 30 minutes. And part of the reason that really, I think, sticks out to me is that when we had gone, I forget exactly the timeline, but I think 2010 is when it opened up as a hike, and then 2012 was when they paved a parking lot there. So it's really, in the whole scheme of things, it hasn't been a hike for very long.
Man, I wonder what Conservancy helped build the trail together.
That's a very good question.
Yeah. Brad will know the answer.
Right by the end of the podcast, you will know, for sure. So when we went there, we were kind of taking a chance because there wasn't a lot of information, not a lot of reviews on it, but we're like kind of like, it was almost partially logistically it worked out that I think I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina, so on the way home we're going to hit up this hike, and it wasn't that far off of the interstate, and so we went, and it was it was a really cool hike. And then the other thing I remember was we get kind of towards the end, and again, we didn't have a ton of information about like where to go or how long it was and that sort of thing. And we get to a point where we're kind of like, well, maybe is this it? Because there's some like rushing water and stuff. Like maybe someone would call this a waterfall. I don't know. Like
there it is.
I mean, it depends on kind of like what level of cataractophile you are, if you would consider that to be like legit or not. And
it just gets the juices flowing.
Right, I was like, well, I'm not ready to quite climax yet.
What's
so
happening?
I'm thinking maybe,
I was going to say, we
there
talked
has to be more,
that we were going to talk about your favorite trails or trips.
Right.
But after talking about the cataractophile, I didn't know that we didn't talk about that your trip was going to be to a waterfall.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I am.
This is coming full circle.
I wasn't
like your
joking
first
when
hit.
You never denied that you were not a cataractophile.
I would be happy to like head up the local chapter. I think from my hiking experience, I've definitely
What's funny too is it sounds like, because a couple weeks ago Patty told a similar story where he was going up a long trail and thought like, oh man, this is amazing.
That actually was my life-changing trail.
Oh, cool.
Was going out in Washington. Mount
cool.
Rainier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So for me, it was that whole kind of, well, I don't know if this is it. Well, let's just go a little further, because there was a big log that was down that you could use as a bridge, and then that's how, after you went, I don't know, another tenth or two a mile, then all of a sudden this really like awesome cascade waterfall appears kind of out of nowhere. So it was this whole like at that point I'd kind of like given up and tried to tell myself like this was it and be like, well, this was cool. I mean, because regardless, it's still, like I said, a cool hike. There are a lot of benefits of being out there besides just a waterfall, but then to also kind of, in a way, stumble upon this really cool waterfall that, there were no spoilers when I was researching it because there wasn't a lot of information. And so that was one of that always kind of stuck out with me, because then I know later on it became a very popular hike to where, there are times when I was in that area and we would try to go early in the morning and it was just like so jam packed that you couldn't really go.
Yeah, it looks like it's literally right off I-40.
Yeah. And the other thing that stinks is to my knowledge, what really sucks is that they closed it for 2 years and reopened it in May of this year to really kind of upgrade, because I think partly because it became so popular that they were really trying to make it. It was kind of some of the pictures that we were looking at from the Ramsey Cascade, where they were making it from, very natural to like, let's have a legit stable path and, and all that. And then, so I believe it opened in May, but then it got destroyed by the hurricane basically. And so I'm pretty sure it's closed until at least the spring of 2025, because now they have to go back and do a bunch of maintenance to try to get it back up to snuff again. So that's kind of, depressing.
And then they'll probably have to put like an advertising campaign out to say, hey, we're open.
Hey, we're back. You're right. Yeah.
What really helps maintain those trails is hikers, getting hikers out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because plants won't grow on the trail, and good hikers will keep it clean.
Right.
Yeah.
And want to volunteer.
And want to volunteer. You go out there, like we said earlier, you have a connection to this. You understand what it's about. So the idea is that you're going to turn back around and help out.
Yeah.
Clean it up.
Yeah, I guess we really got to be thankful for a lot more than just, our government letting us have these beautiful public lands, but just the people who actually take care of it.
I think Brad does a great point, or makes that point every news session, every News Panther.
Yeah, I think it's inspiring. It definitely inspires me.
So we mentioned that you have been to Zion.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, because I've also been to Zion, and I don't know too much about waterfalls out there, but where does that rank, like on your list of places you've gone and hiked? What do you think? Because it is high on my list.
I don't know how much of this is just recency bias, but I would put it probably at the top of the list, because I did Angel's Landing while I was out there, which again, I mentioned All Trails earlier, and I might get into that more later. That usually on All Trails, Angel's Landing is either ranked as like the best or second best hike in the United States. So it's a very awesome, well-regarded, well-known, popular hike out there.
Where exactly is this?
So this is about 2 hours northeast of Vegas in Utah. So it's a part of like the Great Five or the Big Five parks in Utah, but it's like the southwest part of Utah, but not that far from Vegas, right? Because when I went out there, I flew into Vegas and then rented a car and drove up there.
That's what we did.
How long did it take you to get there?
I would say off the top of my head 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's pretty far.
It's a quick drive, and it's very pretty.
Especially out in the it's beautiful drive. And out there the speed limit on the interstate's like 80, 85 or something. So you're hauling ass.
Hell yeah.
Man, and it's wild too when you're up there. We went in for my son's spring break. So it was May, like early May maybe. And when we went up to the top, like when you're in Vegas, it's hot, it's Vegas. And on your way to Zion, you end up like reaching peaks where there's snow on the ground.
Oh, no kidding.
So it was really cool. Really cool.
Do you know what kind of elevation change you had there?
No, not off the maybe.
Did
no,
it feel
I don't
like?
know.
Did you feel the elevation change?
Man, I'm afraid of heights, and I'll tell you, some of that drive was farting petrifying.
Okay.
I'm telling you what, man. And even when I'm assuming when you drove into the park, you came in from the north end, so you came through the tunnel.
we came from the south.
So you came from like Springfield?
Yeah. So Springfield, we actually were able to camp there in Springfield,
that's right.
which was also awesome because that was so I was with like two of my best friends who do a ton of camping, and I even asked them at one point, I was like, where does this rank on terms of beautiful campgrounds that you've been at? And because we were so close to the park that when you literally got out of the the camper and stuff and looked around, it was just beauty everywhere.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, this is probably the most beautiful one we've been to. Because part of it was like, well, if you've been to one more beautiful than this, like, let me know and sign me up.
No shit.
I want to go there
Yes.
because it was just so amazing. Just like everywhere you turned, it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we were there. So we were only about a half a mile south of that gate to get in. So it was the campground was beautiful and insanely convenient to get in.
Yeah. And you did Angel's Landing?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so we did that. And
have you guys seen photos of Angel's Landing?
No, I haven't.
It is like the most perfect hike for the most perfect view of the valley of Zion National Park.
yeah, I need to really get my
awesome.
hike, like get my pictures cleaned up and show you guys.
Yeah, for real.
Because when we went there, and one of the things I would recommend about Zion is that, so for us, because of the season we were there, which was early October, the earliest shuttle in the morning, because you can't drive into Zion, or at least for like the main part.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have to take a shuttle so you can park at if you get there early enough, you can park at the visitor center and then get on the shuttle. But even for this, like for a 7 a.m. shuttle, you want to be in line by at least 6:30.
Like even to park or to get on the shuttle?
Well, because we drove into the park, you can drive to the visitor center, but to get to your
Exactly
hike,
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
So you can get to the visitor center
Yes.
park, and if you go to the right, like you said, like the tunnel and stuff, you can do that. But to get really into where all the cool hikes are, you need to park and then like park and ride, get on the shuttle.
Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, we were basically. we would park at like 6:15 or something, get to the shuttle stop by, say 6:30 or whatever. But the main thing is you don't want to. If you roll up there at 7, you're probably not getting on the first shuttle, which isn't necessarily the end of the world. But I know for us, it was really nice to be able to. It was good. I was with very like-minded people because, like, especially even for Angel's Landing, when the shuttle stopped and we got to the trailhead, we were kind of like half jogging to try to separate ourselves from everyone else. So then, when we got up there, which was awesome because by the time we got to the actual beginning, because you follow the West Rim Trail up to Scout Overlook, and then Angel's Landing actually starts. And so
I want to get this understood. Angel's Landing is a very popular attraction that is within Zion National Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like within Zion National Park, that's probably like arguably the top attraction.
Okay.
But then,
and it's presumably busy because of the shuttle system. And everything?
And so they have a permit system for Angel's Landing, which I can get into later, but which is nice because part of what's cool about Angel's Landing is it's almost like an obstacle course at parts where, because it can get very narrow and you have chains that you have to hold on, and so it is kind of moderately risky. And I mean, people have died there, and stuff if you're not careful. But it was nice that for us when we would get off the shuttle and we kind of like had a good pace to kind of beat people up. So then, by the time we got to the Angel's Landing part, and like I was able to take really awesome pictures because no one else was around. Like I didn't have a bunch of people in my view because I was at the very beginning.
Nice.
And so, I would definitely recommend. Yeah, if you go to Zion, like definitely everyone I feel like should go to Zion in their life. Like that, I agree with Patrick that I think that was by far one of the most beautiful places I've been.
It's the view of the park. I mean, just fantastic.
Yeah.
I've never seen photos better. I mean, I am afraid of heights, and that scares the shit out of me. That hike.
Yeah.
But if I could somehow do it where no one else was with me,
Right.
like pushing me in any direction, and get up there, I feel like I would just like to go, leave, and that's where I want to go.
Push yourself.
Take me out, Lord.
Totally.
Whatever.
Yeah, and even with, like I said, with it, even going in knowing that it's this highly rated trail, it's still
mind blowing.
Lived up to the hype, exceeded the hype, and I came away from that. And because earlier this year, I was lucky enough to go to Scotland and do some hiking there.
Wow.
And at that point, I was thinking, like, that was the coolest hike I'd went on. And then I go to Angel's Landing, and I was like, no, I think this is probably the coolest. When you consider just because the hike itself was just fun. I don't know, like in terms of it was like strenuous and it was challenging and everything, but it was almost like a adult obstacle course at times where you have to use a change, you have to pull yourself up and that sort of stuff. So
did you
cool.
Changing course from the highest place, scariest place in my opinion, did you do the Narrows?
Yes. So we actually did the Narrows the next day.
Oh, sweet.
And so the Narrows is where you're walking through a slot canyon and you're actually wading in water.
Yeah.
And so
is this also in Zion?
Yeah, so this is also in Zion. So this is probably the other like main iconic hike, I would say, in Zion.
Okay.
And so this is one where I know that we rented gear where I would recommend at the very least you want to rent, if you don't already have, like get some waterproof boots and socks and also a hiking stick.
Yeah.
Which I'm not one to usually use a hiking stick, but I found it very useful on this hike because the rocks are very slippery. So there are definitely times when I was, taking a step and I would slip and then catch myself because of the stick.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went, I kind of went all out and actually bought like the waders, like the ones you'd wear if you're going fly fishing or something.
Yeah.
Dude, I know most people do that.
Yeah.
That's a great, you just stay dry.
Exactly.
And warm.
Exactly. So that's why I erred on the side of caution, especially because, again, we were on the first shuttle, so it's going to be cold. And so, like, maybe if you're there at 2 when the sun's out, it might not be as bad.
Yeah.
But for us, we wanted to, again, beat the crowd. And, again, it was awesome because by the time for most of our hike, we were basically the only ones there. And then, especially when we got deep into the Narrows,
oh man,
hardly anyone was around.
Awesome.
And it was just, and then when we were walking back and we're getting close to the shuttle stop, there were just like so many freaking people. And that just made us so appreciative of the fact that we got up early and beat the rush and everything, because and even then there were so many people who, I don't know, I mean, to each their own, but they kind of did like zero research on it because like so many people had no gear at all. They were just in their t-shirts, shorts or whatever. Or they didn't know they were getting they didn't know they were getting wet at all.
Yeah.
And so it was just and they looked at us of like that we were like astronauts or something. Yeah, because we were just like in all this gear and like, oh, well, those guys are really intense. We're like, well, no, we're not fucking around. Like we're here to like do this shit, not this little.
And it sucks because that's how people die. Like the national parks have these cool, like kind of dangerous, risky, maybe not that dangerous, but like, and then people don't read what you're supposed to do, and they die, and then that shit gets shut down. Like that thing at Yosemite right now. Like people keep.
Walking onto the.
It's very unfortunate, but the old saying, "Rules are written in blood."
Yeah,
those rules are there for a reason.
Yeah,
and it's gonna ruin it for everybody else if people don't follow that shit.
Yeah, agreed.
But we all have a weird satisfaction when those people
they got what they
gored by
deserve.
a buffalo.
I certainly do.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, it sounds like Zion's definitely on my list for sure. That's what we're talking about doing a Kings Canyon trip next year, and Zion's kind of close, so it's a little tempting just to take an extra week off work and we'll see how it goes.
I'm gonna end up taking a month off work.
Allegiant Airlines flies from Fort Wayne to Vegas.
And
from there it's only 2 hours.
It's
so
like
that's totally
$150 flight.
Yeah, so that's totally
round
something
trip.
where you could just do even Zion. And in Bryce Canyon, which we didn't get to go to because Zion just had so much to do.
Yeah.
And I've heard really good things about Bryce Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
That's not that far. So you could totally fly to Vegas and hit both of those parks in like a week and have an amazing trip.
If you have a solid 8 days out there and you were scooting, like doing a trail at each park,
I'd want to
hypothetically do like 6 national parks in that one trip.
I'd want to do like at least a 3-night backpack trip in each one, though. That's my problem.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so in terms of backpacking, I don't know how the backpacking is.
Right, yeah. And searching for our next trip.
Yeah.
It seems like some of them it's like overnight or 2-night trips.
Right.
Nothing.
I was about to say, for me, when I read about Zion, it was mainly like overnight type stuff as opposed to multiple day.
I feel like
trips.
I feel like I have to sleep on the ground in a national park to get a true appreciation for it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You've been to Sedona too, right?
Yes.
Is it that same kind of? Because I've been to Sedona. Like, how would you compare the landscape?
That's a good question. I mean, Sedona is. I mean, it's similar in terms of. I don't know. It's beautiful. It's a lot of like red rock and stuff.
Yeah.
But Sedona is like way more spread out compared to Zion.
Yeah, and it's not really like mountains.
I was just saying, like, to me, I was about to say that in Zion, they're like more like the elevation's higher in terms of the peaks and stuff. I mean, Sedona, I would definitely plug Sedona as another place that was beautiful and awesome.
Insane.
And we did some really cool hikes out there that, because I actually, again, going to like the All Trails list, Devil's Bridge is up there.
Yeah.
Cathedral Rock is up there as some of the like top 10 to 15 hikes in the country.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a very beautiful area too, and that's again, if from Fort Wayne you fly Allegiant to Phoenix area, and I think they don't fly to the main Phoenix airport, but like the Mesa one, it's only 2.5 hour drive to get up to Sedona. So and
then the Grand Canyon's like 2 hours more, right?
Yes, yeah. Which we also did. That was our third stop on this trip. Was we hit up Zion, the Grand Canyon, and Sedona. But
true American right here.
Hell yeah. But again, just plug in the fact that for us, it's not that hard, really, in the whole scheme of things, to get to those places because of. Magically, Allegiant happens to fly there, so it's just cheap, short flight, and then hit the ground running.
You just never know, because I never would have known to go to some of these places that you've mentioned, and it sounds like there are some very nice places to visit.
Totally,
that aren't national parks necessarily.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Where I haven't been to necessarily a ton of national parks, but it's more of a hey, I'm going somewhere. Let's find the cool hikes there type thing. Yeah. And so
when you go to Sedona, you can kind of probably get your palm read, get your get some magic stones, and get everything centered. It's a unique. It's a unique
get
place.
That tea.
Cool. It's pretty. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
That sounds fun.
Because they have. Do you remember what? There's Vortex, right?
I did. I forget the name of the hike.
There's
I did that. Yeah,
there's like certain areas that they consider vortexes.
The hike that had where you go off and then go up and there's some energy vortex.
Yeah.
Thing.
Wow.
And it's and I can't remember what like the purpose of it is, but it like somehow like centers you or
like the energy and stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
that sounds
fellas.
Cool. Okay.
Let's get back on track here.
Right.
but I think we can kind of come to a little lesson here for anybody that's trying to research where they want to go hiking or backpacking is go ahead and check to see if you need permits or, whatever qualifications you might need to go to that place. Gear, and because you are going to be miserable if you're so excited to go on this trip and you get there and realize you can't just hop on this trail. You got to sign up for it, basically. Win it.
Well,
at some point.
One thing I was wanting to talk about is all trails.
Yeah.
As far as something that I would also recommend. I know I kind of talked about it some here and there, but I think all trails to me is nice because one, it's great for finding cool hikes to go on, but you also have a bunch of user reviews and feedback on there. So like the stuff you were just talking about, Trevi, is that like a lot of times that's my first source of researching a hike, and people there will give that sort of feedback of what's the parking situation like? Do you need a permit?
Get there early.
Or sort of, like, are there bathrooms at the trailhead? You know, stuff like that. And so,
and even like, if you do it clockwise, it's a more gradual.
Totally. Yeah. Like those sorts of tips and tricks, like all sorts of stuff like that. So that's a thing that for me is kind of like a luxury or something I've splurged on in the recent year, is actually buying the premium.
Oh, looky
like
you.
All Trails, like All Trails Plus user over here,
I bet it was cheaper than my shitty Gaia subscription.
For sure.
Jesus, Brad, we still don't have sponsors, man. We're
still looking for sponsors, brother.
We're sorry, Gaia.
I would refuse it out of principle.
Brad's the only one, please.
Jeez. Well, tell us about how much more superior your thing is than what Brad bought.
Oh, well, vastly superior all around. I think that in terms of premium, I think, first off, premium I think is only $36 a year.
I just saw an ad that it's on sale for $26.
I was even going to say, I bet they have because they do have regular sales, and I'm sure Black Friday they're going to have a sale where it's either a third off or half off or whatever. And to me, the main benefit of having the premium is being able to download the maps.
Oh yeah, offline.
So then, the offline maps. So then when you're out there, not only do you have the navigation to know where you're going, but then you also can record your hike just to have your own kind of historical record of the hikes that you've been on. Because that's something that I recently realized is that I almost wish I would have been writing these down, like the different cool hikes I've been on, to be able to look back and see like, 2008 I went on this cool hike.
Yeah,
not that it's like a huge deal, and luckily I have like pictures I can kind of sort through to do it. But
but still, it's nice to have that catalog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like so something like All Trails, if you stuck to it, would be a great way to keep that. And for me,
$20-$30 a year.
Yeah, to me, it's a steal, and I view it as the whole too and that's something else where other people who go on the hike and record it, you can then see their recording to again get a better idea of how long that hike's going to take.
Oh yeah,
and so to
Reminder, Brian is a data-driven man.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm trying to consume as much data as possible to find. All right, how long is this going to take? So then after this, I can fit in this and this and this.
So you can go back on your app, the Trails app.
Yeah, All Trails.
And look at your
Travi. Travi still uses the stars.
Yeah. I'm gonna wake up one time alone out in the wilderness, and
he navigates land
to understand it.
He navigates land like a Puritan. Just wherever that leaf blows that way, there must be an opening. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
So just to add to that, I think the free version of All Trails has been like fun for me. I go hiking and backpacking with these guys and then some other people, but hiking, I've taken my mom out hiking, I've taken my family out hiking, I've gone out hiking with my brother and his wife and my nephews, and All Trails is just like an easy source to have like right on your phone the night before you're about to go hiking.
Totally.
You can look up. I always like the difficulty ratings because I go hiking with so many different people. Mm-hmm. So if my mom's going, I'll pick something way more easy, maybe just like a straight mile and a half to whatever's beautiful and then right back.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I'm going with my brother or my son or my wife, I might pick something like in the moderate. Then if I'm going with you guys, it just opens it up to it opens it up to that hard level where now you can start seeing like, okay, we can do this,
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. Is a good app for anybody that just put it on your phone.
Totally.
And the next time you're anywhere, search and see what's around you.
Is there like a pre-planning route, like make a route before you go on the hike and then like record that route?
I'll answer that. Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah. You can do all of it on all Trails, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I think we could probably start wrapping it up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think we've had a good night of conversation, and we learned a lot. And I think it's about time we end this episode. What do you guys think?
I think you're right. That was really fucking fun, dude. Thank you very much, Brian.
Yeah, pleasure. I had a blast, and I hope that people enjoyed hearing my stories and got some useful information out of it too.
Oh, plenty of useful information.
I gained a lot from this conversation. So I know that I'm going to be packing baby food.
That's one of the things that came to my mind. Like,
that is a sweet idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't hear more about that.
Yeah,
Kinda
I've
crazy.
never heard that.
Cool.
And we learned the definition of a cataractophile.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
cataractophile.
Sign
Someone
me up.
who's, what is it?
Passionate about waterfalls.
An
Just
intense
so-
urge
An
An
intense
intense
urge.
urge to see a waterfall.
to see waterfalls.
That
Just
was
for the
very
record, that
interesting.
was I added
Oh,
the intense
Oh,
urge.
Yeah.
okay. You increased the intensity of the
that's not
definition.
the exact definition?
Yeah, I think I tried saying that earlier, but you guys
Oh,
didn't hear
no.
me.
We
I was-
want to believe that the actual
that it's
official
an
definition
intense
is intense urge, like an insatiable urge.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
just
can't carry
assumed-
on with your day.
Yeah, I just assumed that was probably part of it.
Well,
Nope. You were wrong.
that's my definition from now on.
Yeah.
So,
Remember that.
Brian, I want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Like from the bottom of our hearts. Like this is our first time. We were so excited to have a guest, and you killed it, man. Thank
Yeah.
you
Thank
for
you. I appreciate that.
yeah,
it
all
means
the
a lot.
wisdom. But yeah, we're gonna end it here, and I'd like to say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for listening, and you can reach us on our Facebook page at Busted Knees and Pretty Trees, the group, and we have at Busted
Yeah, at
Pretty.
Busted Pretty.
for our Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and what else you got, Patrick?
Threads.
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 And if you're into email, like some people are, you can
Yeah,
hit us.
good old fashioned email.
Yeah, bustedpretty@gmail.com, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Keep on sauntering.
Keep on sauntering.
Goodbye.
Say bye, Brian.
Bye.